Hey, let's talk about having a successful claim, right? That's really important. Thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. A successful claim is the most important thing you can focus on when you're getting ready to file your claim. And I just wanted to talk through it a little bit and kind of give you my 2 cents on what I view a successful claim to look like. And hopefully you'll pick up a couple things. And look, I already get it. Most of you who are watching this already are at 100%, or you already get most of this stuff because you've been watching a lot of these videos and other people's videos too. There's a lot of good information out there regarding this, but maybe you'll pick up a nugget, and hitting that thumbs up will help to get this information into the hands of those that don't know anything about how to structure or put together a successful claim. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel immensely. And if you're not a member, consider joining. It does help a lot for the channel, and it helps me to find you in the comments. So let's jump into it. A successful claim. There's 3 components here that I'm going to dive into. Okay, one is the intent to file, because that's part of the claim process, and it's a vital part, in my opinion. 2 is putting together your claim and what that looks like in order to make sure that you get it service connected, whatever your conditions are. And then 3 would be making sure that you get the right rating. What can you do to ensure that your rating comes back correctly, right? Maybe you're supposed to get a 30% for that specific condition. What can you do to make sure you don't get a 0 or a 10 or whatever, right? What can you do to make sure that you get that 30%? So let's dive into it. Number 1, that intent to file, right? The intent to file is very important for a couple reasons. One, the most basic reason is it locks in a date. When you file it, it locks in a date for any of your back pay. So it effectively becomes your effective date. So once the VA actually decides your claim, they will back pay you all the way back to your intent to file date. So when you file your intent to file, they give you 12 months to actually file your real claim with the VA. So the intent to file is good for that reason, because you'll get more back pay. But the other reason, and this is one that people don't really talk about, I believe this, and to me, what I've seen is once people decide to file a claim, you start to get a little bit antsy about it, and you want to get it filed quickly because you want the process to happen. And I think that filing prematurely is shooting yourself in the foot. You need to make sure that you fully develop your claim before you file it. And if it takes an extra month to get that done, then it takes an extra month. But it drives people crazy to wait. So filing an intent to file helps to take that pressure off. It allows you time to put together your claim, and in your mind, you know you basically already filed your claim as far as your effective date is concerned. So you're going to get back paid. You're not going to lose any money taking a little extra time to put everything together. So that's very important. So number 1, that intent to file. It should be a must. Even if you think you're going to file your claim within a month, file an intent to file. It buys you some time. And if it takes 2 months, you're fine. So number 2, having a successful claim comes down to your documentation, right? The first piece of a successful claim is making sure that you can get your claim or claims service connected. Now, I'll tell you as a little side note, don't leave anything on the table. You're going to see things out there, videos or articles or what have you, that talk about high value claims and, going after your high value claims. Of course, you're going to go after your high value claims. Why wouldn't you? But also go after that 10% rating or that 0% rating. Those oftentimes are equally as important as that 50% or 70% that you received. Why? Because it might be that one piece that took you to that next level. Maybe it took you to 100%. You needed that extra 10%. Or maybe that 0% rating has a secondary condition to it that was able to be a higher rating. Or maybe that 10% rating had a potential to have a secondary condition that gave you another rating that was higher than that. So don't leave anything on the table, in my opinion, as you're developing your claim. Think of everything. And with that, there's some misperceptions out there with regard to what you can file for. The two hang-ups that people have is some people believe you can only file for an injury. Okay? Only injuries, things that have some sort of an in-service event that cause some sort of injury to me are the things that I can file for. Of course you can file for those, but that's not the only thing you can file for. Okay? The other hang-up people have with regard to what they can file for is thinking to themselves that there's only things that are really related to their time in service. Okay, there are many conditions out there that you will think to yourself, well, I don't know how the military would have caused this to me, right? So I can't get service connected for it. And I'll give you an example. Let's say migraines. You come from a family history of migraine sufferers, right? Your mom, your dad, brother, sister, whatever. Everybody has migraines. And everybody started getting them in whatever, 20 years old. You never had migraines in your life. You joined the military. You went through MEPS and all that stuff, all your physical exams, everything. You'd never been to the doctor before, really, and you went through all that, no problems. You come in, you're a clean slate, not an issue with you. You turn 20 years old, and all of a sudden you start getting migraines. Nobody's asking you at the VA, so is this from your family? Why'd you get... All they really are looking at is, did you have migraines when you showed up to the military? No. Did you start getting them when you were in? Yes. That's what they're looking for. So, have a very open mind when it comes to conditions. A lot of people don't know all the things that you can file for. I mean, there's some of the obvious ones, right? Migraines, but sometimes... And maybe that's not even obvious to people. Migraines, bad heartburn, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, it's bad heartburn, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, plantar fasciitis, sleep apnea. All these things are service connectable. Even motor tics, right? So somebody who has a twitch, right? Maybe you have a little twitch, motor tic. That is service connectable. So there's a lot of things out there. The list would go on and on. You can find it in the schedule of ratings. Gives you a full list of all that stuff, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But be very open-minded. Okay. The main thing is when you're looking to file your claim, there's 3 components that you must hit in order for it to be service connectable, unless it's a presumptive condition, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. I'm just talking about the ones that you actually need to do a little work with. Presumptives are great, by the way. If you qualify for a presumptive, you should absolutely go for it. So for your conditions, there's typically 3 things, right? Unless it's a presumptive condition. So the 3 things are, 1, you have to have active duty time, right? You have to have time in the military. That gives you your window of opportunity, is what I call it. Number 2, you have to have a diagnosis. Self-diagnosing doesn't count. We're all really good at self-diagnosing. I have migraines. I don't need to go to a doctor to know I have migraines. I pop some Motrin or aspirin. I drink some water. I sleep it off, whatever. You have to go to the doctor and have them say you have migraines. In addition to that number 2 piece of diagnosis, your condition must be chronic in nature or have some sort of residual effects. It has to have some sort of an ongoing problem for you to get service connected. Okay, it can't just be like I had this problem once and now I'm all better and I have 0 issues. Then you're not going to get, what are they going to connect you for? What are they going to pay you for? So has to have some sort of it has to be chronic in nature, have some sort of residual effects. So that's part of the number 2 piece. Number 3 is the nexus, the link between your diagnosed condition and that window of opportunity, the time you served. So The easiest way, which is often not the case, would be I got diagnosed for this condition while I was in service. If you got diagnosed for that condition while you were serving, the nexus is clear. I didn't have a condition when I joined. Now I have the condition. See the date I was diagnosed, and you're golden. However, most people don't get diagnosed for everything when they're in. They wait until they get out, and even then you're figuring out life, and then it's not till years later that you actually get diagnosed for something, or maybe you still never got diagnosed. So then what happens is you have to, I call it, build a bridge back. Okay, so now your time in service is here. That's your window of opportunity, but your condition gets diagnosed over here. Now you have to build a bridge back to your time in service to show that it first manifested there. Now, there's different versions of that. I'll give you two examples. One example would be maybe during an annual physical health assessment, or an exit physical health assessment, you wrote something down or you checked some boxes that said, have you now or have you ever experienced any of these? And you said, yes, headaches, yes, joint pain, yes, back pain, yes, heartburn, right? So maybe you did that. If you did that on any of that paperwork, or you had anything typed in, or you hand wrote anything, typically those forms are going to be signed by like a physician's assistant or something like that, or even a medical provider, maybe an 04 or something, or 05 even, signing off on that stuff. So it is a medical piece of paper, documented. Now you have a link that's connecting it, right? Your diagnosis is out here, but you first complained about it over here during your window of opportunity, your time in service. That's really important because you would leverage that. You could also, in addition to having that, explain that and show that to your current doctor and have them write you a Nexus letter saying that it is more than likely that your diagnosed condition started during service, as evidenced by your complaints of these symptoms. And that would button that up. Now, let's say you don't have anything in your medical records, nothing, zero, about your condition. Now you're going to have to leverage other things. You're going to have to give your own statement, and you can always give your own statement with anything, but for this it's really going to be more important. You'll have to give your own statement. We'll use migraines. I had migraines when I was in. I would go to my medic or my corpsman. I would get handfuls of Motrin. I would go to the grocery store, buy Motrin and aspirin, and I would self-treat in that way. So I would explain that I never had to, write anything down. They never wrote anything down. It was all kind of over-the-counter medication, and explain the situation. In addition, if you were married during that time frame, you could have your spouse write a letter expressing that they had witnessed you with migraines. If you have any friends that you had served with, you could have them write you what's called buddy statements. That will also help you to solidify that nexus, showing that your condition had manifested during your time in service. The last piece here I'm going to talk about is making sure that not only do you have that claim being able to have the ability to get service connected, but get the correct rating that you need. So having the correct rating is really important. And you can control that by reading through the schedule of ratings. The schedule of ratings is found at the VA's website, and in some cases you can just Google search the condition and VA schedule of ratings, and you will see it pop up on different lawyer sites, and they'll kind of outline it and go, this condition warrants these ratings. This is the schedule of ratings. It'll say this, whatever your migraines will give you a 50%, a 30%, or a 10%, depending on your signs and symptoms. Well, now you know exactly what the VA is looking for. Read through them. If you meet everything in the 10% rating, you know you're at least a 10%. Now read the 30%. Do you meet everything in the 30%? You do. then you should be at 30%. Read the next one, 50%. Let's say you're not meeting quite everything in the 50%. Then you back down, and you know now that you should be a 30% rated veteran for that condition. Take that exact verbiage, word for word, print it out, write it down, do something, and take it with you to your doctor. Have your doctor put that information into their notes, their files on you. So when you get your paperwork from the doctor, it will have that information in their notes. That makes it really easy for the VA rater. Now, in addition, you could have DBQs completed. That's the disability questionnaire. You could have that completed for that condition, inserting that same information from the schedule of ratings, just to double tap that if you would like. Now, you're going to gather that up. You're going to do that for all your conditions. Now your claim's ready, you file your claim. Now the CNP exam is going to come up, and when you go to your CNP exam, you're going to dust off those same notes from the schedule of ratings for your conditions, and you're going to take those with you to your CNP exam. Because when the CNP examiner starts asking you questions about the severity, your signs and symptoms, you'll be able to articulate it appropriately to be in line with the correct rating that you should have. Because believe me, if you miss one word or one sign or symptom, they will drop you down to the lower rating. So you will slide from that 30% down to a 10%. So you want to make sure you take that information with you and articulate it to the CNP examiner to make sure that you have the correct rating at the end of all this. You can also hand it to them at the end. Maybe then they can copy it and type it into their notes. With that, we'll conclude it there. I know it was a bit long, but I hope you picked up something. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.